Here it is, the second generation Little Pixel. Google enters a highly competitive market, and this launch isn't without some controversy. We're seeing improvements over last year's phone, but is that enough against other terrific smartphone options? Well, here's our Pixel 2 review, brought to you by dbrand. Jumping right in on design, Google kept things simple. Changes are minor, but we ultimately arrive at a cleaner looking phone than the first Pixel. This phone loses the slight wedge shape, and the thinner glass visor on the rear arrives as a nicer two-tone aesthetic. It's funny that manufacturers have to sell phones by promoting premium materials, and here we've got an aluminum frame covered in a really thick plasticky coating. The hand feel is excellent, and it's really easy to hold, but why not just make the phone out of plastic, which would make it possible to include wireless charging? Taking a peek under the hood, the internals are in solid, very good territory for a 2017 flagship. The requisite high-end chipset from Qualcomm, 64GB of storage, 4GB of RAM. These are all good, even if they won't necessarily wow users. Google is making a similar argument as Apple might that software plus hardware optimization is more important than brute force hardware specs. That's what you're paying for, not the sexiest spec sheet. Case in point, this phone has a fairly normal 16:9 1080p display. Our Pixel 2 has a nicely juicy AMOLED with great contrast and very good outdoor viewability. Last year, this display would have been applauded, but this year many manufacturers have moved on to taller screens. It makes the Pixel 2 feel a little less high-tech, a little less on the pulse. I like the look of the phone overall, but we are pretty close to Xperia territory looking at this forehead and chin. It's interesting how some phones are criticized more aggressively than others for similar features. It's the software side where the Pixel 2 shines. If Google's claim is for better optimization over the competition, it's the one area we feel most confident in their advertising. Android Oreo with Google's customizations makes for a delightful experience. It's clean, it's uncluttered, it's quick. Living wallpapers are fun to show off, and the bottom search dock makes a lot of sense for a UI focused on bottom-mounted controls. Google Assistant is ever more integrated into the experience, though. I can't say I've used the squeezy gesture since setting the phone up. I'm either already deliberately searching for something, or I'm using a voice action. There are other pieces of hardware I'd rather have than pressure sensors. And you know how we gushed over the iPhone's augmented reality capabilities? Well, the Pixel 2 can do the AR thing too. Except that it kinda can't. I couldn't get any AR apps to work just yet. Apple's AR kit has a lot more developer support than Google's AR Core at the moment. On a more positive note, while it's something we can't directly comment on in these early days, we are happy to see Google commit to 3 years of OS upgrades for this phone. Hopefully a situation where more manufacturers will follow Google's lead. Yeah, this phone is simply wonderful to navigate. It's extremely rare that the user will encounter unresponsive lags or stutters. Even while I was running the camera hard in 100-degree heat, there were only ever momentary twitches. This phone specializes in a brevity of interaction, and it won't leave you waiting. It's a great argument for why it's worth spending more on a phone, even for users who just want to cover the basics. And it's a terrific performer on graphics-intense games. We have a full in-depth camera review on this channel, but to sum up our experiences, the Pixel reigns as the best auto mode performer in Android land, producing the best HDR photos we've ever seen, great low-light performance, and adding hardware image stabilization to the mix only improves on a great imaging platform. Folks who want more granular control or manual modes will be disappointed, and forget about stereo audio on your videos, but people who interact only with the shutter button will be well served here. Software is Google's forte, and that's put to use in a terrific portrait mode, the first which uses machine learning to cut out your subject instead of dual lenses for depth information. It's not going to replace an interchangeable lens camera just yet, but it's a very pleasant effect for isolating your subject. Ditto audio. Again, the full specs and benchmarks are in our real audio review, but we're happy with the overall performance. Our Pixel 2 was free of the speaker gremlins some folks have been discussing online. And it's always nice returning to a phone with front-facing stereo speakers. The headphone game is a bit more nuanced. Performance from the dongle is nicely improved over the built-in jack on the first Pixel, but dongles are still a pain. Happily, this dongle represents real progress for Android and USB audio. It's a real USB audio device that works on every computer I've tried it on, including laptops, other Android phones, even my last Lumia. Now, if a headphone manufacturer wants to build some USB-C headphones universally compatible with all gadgets, there's a blueprint they can follow. The battery chat is mostly positive too. The Snapdragon 835 paired with Oreo improvements is nicely power efficient, but the smaller battery capacity is kind of a bummer. Running our media test, the Pixel 2 performed alongside the best battery benchmarkers of the year. Again, this phone excels at short interactions, and in quick burst use, it'll easily last the day. I just didn't have much room after dinner, and it's not going to be a screen-on champion. As a special shout out, the low power state that Oreo uses is phenomenal. On Wi-Fi, when you're letting the phone sit, this thing is barely sipping any juice. Fast charging is supported, and combined with the smaller battery, topping off during the day doesn't require a lot of time. So let's wrap this up. Where's that leave us with Google's Pixel 2? I personally wish this phone felt just a little more futuristic. I wish this hardware was a little more progressive. I'm having a difficult time shaking the feeling that this is a more expensive Nexus than a new, fresh phone line. But bleeding-edge hardware really isn't the point. Judged on its own merits and graded against Google's claims, the Pixel 2 well accomplishes what it sets out to do. This is a software platform, and Google is pretty good at software. And while the front of the phone has this colorful screen, are you wishing the Pixel 2 came in more color options? Maybe you want a different feel for the backplate. The D brand has a wide collection of custom-fit skins in a gamut of colors and textures to land exactly the look you want while protecting this paint against scratches. Head on over to dbrand.com or hit the link in the video description to start customizing yours. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for our full Pixel coverage as Jaime is digging into the Pixel 2 XL, and help us out with some sharing on your favorite social networks. For Pocketnow, I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, some gadget guy on Twitter and Instagram, and I will catch you all on the next review.